Hey, what's going on, Lions? I am in the building. Yeah, usually, it's Rudy LaRose, but this is Darian Hill here with Confidence Factor, and I'm excited for another Tuesday, 6:30 here for CF Talks. That's right, having heart level conversations that lead to transformation. We are in, as Rudy would say, in the building tonight with you fellas, and we are excited about another opportunity to be able to share some amazing value, have a heart level conversation that's going to ultimately lead to your transformation. It is this whole thing that men are not supposed to share their emotions, right? And so we're going to dive a little bit deeper into emotions tonight. We're going to talk about how to master your emotions for success, and we're going to have a great discussion. So listen, the reality is your emotions are the driver. They are the driver to your success, and how you manage your emotions is going to determine how you navigate life, how you navigate your relationships, how you navigate money. And so this is an exciting conversation. So I'm excited to have you guys here with us tonight. As you're joining us, put hashtag heart level, put hashtag heart level. And of course, we're going to, be kicking this off tonight. Hope you guys are having an amazing, amazing week. It's Tuesday, so it's Transformation Tuesday, having heart level conversations here with Confidence Factor. So again, if you're coming on, put hashtag heart level. If you're joining us on live, hashtag heart level. If you're on the replay, put hashtag replay. All right. So let's get this ball rolling. So of course, we can't start the show without my co-pilots on board our Confidence Factor mission. So I want to go ahead and just introduce the first co-pilot, of course. They call him the B, right? The B, the big B, right? That's Bobby B. So we're going to bring on Bobby B. What's going on, Bobby B? Come on in, champion.
Darian, what's going on, Lion? What's
Yes,
happening, Lions? Today is a great day, and it is the best day of my life. I'm happy to be here, man. We got an exciting conversation, man. I was waiting for this. I thought we was gonna get this done last week, but we're
yeah,
getting it done this week, so we got a chance to absorb a little bit more. But the topic tonight is incredible because this is the
incredible.
this is the this is the difference maker, right, between success and failure. So
It
I'm
really
excited to
is. It really
have this
is. It really
conversation.
is. And I'm really honored that we get to, have a heart level conversation. We get to share a lot of our stories, our own journey, this transition we've gone through. So of course, as we continue to have this conversation, we got to bring on our next co-pilot. He's usually in the back making us look good. He's usually in the back making us look good, but tonight he's going to be on deck. You heard that, on deck, to share his stories, to share his insights with us tonight. And we're just honored to have him. Hey, Bobby, we're honored to have him on deck with us because, yeah, when he comes on, man, he drops some jewels. He drops some jewels, you know what I'm
Uh-oh.
saying? So, so we want to welcome, of course, the great Lamont Gwent to the building. Join us, Lamont. What's going on, Mr. Producer?
What's going on, fellas? What's going on? It's a great day. It's the best day of my life, as
There it
the
is.
doctor says.
Oh
I'm happy
man.
to be here. This is, emotions. We don't
Mhm.
like we as men. We kind of run away from the E word, right? So this is a great topic. I'm glad we're going to have it, and I'm ready to have a great show.
Beautiful, beautiful. And as Lamont said, we're here to talk about, of course, how to master your emotions for success. And you may be thinking, master emotion for success. I mean, we all hear that you got to work hard, you got to stay focused on, the task, you got to set goals. But where does emotions play in that whole equation? Well, we're going to talk about that because emotions are certainly a big driver for what we will do or what we won't do in our life. And of course, the things that we do ultimately get us to the place of success. So, how to master emotions for success? That's what we're talking about tonight. And I wanted to set a little framework. Many of you guys, recently saw in the news, and yes, we're still talking about it. You may be sick of hearing about it, but yes, we're still talking about it. You heard about the Oscars blow up, right? The Oscar slap, as we call it, right? The CF slap.
No,
Right?
that wasn't a CF slap.
it, that's right. It wasn't a CF slap because here in Confidence Factor, we don't go on slapping people like that, right?
Right,
We slap them with wisdom. We slap them
right.
with our conversations, heart level conversations. But we all know about the Oscar slap. We all saw in the big stage what happened, and we all were shocked to see it happen. Some people say that it may be staged. Some people say that it's real. But tonight we're not here to, try to argue about what it is. What we do want to have though is a deeper conversation, fellas, a deeper conversation about us and about our emotions and about how those things drive us towards a success or how those emotions cause us to either have blow-ups in our life or keeps us paralyzed or stuck in our life. And that is the real conversation that we have always been having here in Confidence Factor. I don't know if you guys noticed, but our mission ultimately is to empower the lives of over 5 million men to be able to pursue their purpose by developing what we call the confidence factor. And so that confidence factor is all about a state. It's an emotional state. It's a place that you are in your self-awareness and being, as Bobby would say, Bobby, be in your beingness that allows you to show up in a way, have a presence about you, have a certain vibration, a vibe. You know, sometimes you see the guys and they say, man, that person has a certain vibe about him, right? That's what we're talking about. That's what the confidence factor is. And, you know, we typically work within a curriculum, and that curriculum is what we call our SMART principles, right? And the SMART principles covers 3 specific areas. Number 1 is our self-mastery, right? Self-mastery. To be able to manage your emotion is to be aware of self. And so you must master self or master the emotions so that you can have the drivers towards success. And so self-mastery is critical because that's the foundation of your success. Number 2 is accountability, right? The Training and Development Organization did a study, and they said that your odds of receiving your goal or getting to your goal increases by 95% when you have, you know, a Bobby B in your life, when you have a Lamont in your life, when you have a Rudy Rose, when you have a Giovanni in life, when you have brothers locking arms with you in a community to help you, to support you along the way. So when you set these goals, it's not just relying on yourself anymore. You have a community that says, come on, man, you got this. Even when you're down moments, when you lose your computer or whatever the case is, you know, we can help you to bounce back. Right? That's an inside joke. That's an inside joke. Okay. All right. So, you know, you have a support system. And last but not least, you know, you got to have some tools. You got to have a toolbox, and you have some tools and some resources. And we are committed here with this community to share tools and resources with you, whether that be bringing in outside individuals into the community to help you guys transform, making sure you have things for your professional life, your personal life, you know, growth for your business. We're here to equip you with those 3 key things so that you can have what we call your confidence factor. And so, you know, I'm excited about this conversation. We want to really dig deep into assessing not what happened per se, but what we all are dealing with as men relative to emotions. Some of us may assess what happened with Will Smith and Chris Rock as an emotional, you know, trigger, right? Something that, you know, all of a sudden was not being dealt with for so long. And all of a sudden there was a blow up. And we all can relate to those moments, right, fellas? We all can relate to moments where we're triggered and we get blown up or things like that. And that's what we want to talk about tonight. We also have a special guest that's going to be joining us, and he'll be joining us a little bit later. Of course, they're joining in the conversation because he's someone who is in the production world, in the TV and world, and talk to a number of people at different levels. And so we wanted to get his insight as well into this conversation. So what's going on, fellas? How you guys doing, man? I mean, I'm excited to have this conversation with y'all, but I want to check in with you fellas to see how we doing. How we doing?
Yeah, man, it's good. I'm really just excited to have the conversation. One, I like to hear the comments of other people as well, especially from the community, about, you know, just this topic is so vital. I think a lot of times we, especially during COVID and all the things that's going on, a lot of people have been transitioning. A lot of people have been trying to figure it out, and you know, we don't really have all the answers. And so, how do you remain a lion or a champion in that type of environment? You know, your emotions have to be all over the place. So I'm excited to have the conversation, man. I know what happened with me, so you know, let's dig in.
Yeah, you know, when you was going over the SMART principles, I thought, wow, self-mastery, accountability, resources and tools. Like, you have to, if you know, having those principles, I wonder, would the outcome be different if the people involved had those SMART principles in their life? Like, how much different is, because it includes all 3 of those, right? The emotional piece, mastering your emotions, include all 3 of those pieces. And so I'm excited about this conversation.
Yeah. And you're right. You bring up a very interesting point. And, you know, one of the things that I will say, Lamont, as we kind of kick off this conversation, and I think all of us, and to the fellas that's joined us tonight, welcome to this conversation. We're talking about how to master your emotions for success, or how to manage your emotion, master your emotion for success. And so, again, we want you guys to kind of tune in and really kind of think about your own life and think about the moments in your own life, as we have been sharing, you know, personally with you guys, the moments when you've had these emotions that come up, or maybe emotions that you haven't dealt with, that that's affecting you in some way. And so you're absolutely right, Lamont. When we look at this situation happen with the Oscars, you ask yourself the question, did the person have some level of self-mastery? Did they have the accountability and have resources and tools? And we can all look at the situation and say potentially, self-mastery to some degree was there, but because oftentimes we don't deal with the emotions going to therapy or looking at our traumas, sometimes we're under the big stage of our life, and that's when those things come up. And when they come up, unfortunately, they lead to us doing things and acting in a way that may not be, who we're representing ourselves to be. And so I want the fellas to be thinking about, is there a moment in your own life where you're like, you know what, I acted out of my character. I did something that, normally I wouldn't do, but because I didn't address certain things, maybe it's a fear, maybe it's an insecurity, maybe it's a, feeling a loss that I had that I never really addressed, and all of a sudden I'm dealing with it today. And the other thing is, do you have the people in your life to hold you accountable, right? To check in on you, just to say, hey, how you doing? How you feeling today when you're going through these moments, right? The emotional moments. And then the resources and tools. Again, we're going to be sharing some resources and tools with you guys today that we've used on our own journey, right? Of going through this whole transformation. But, I know that our guest will be joining us later today. So what I wanted to do is, I know we're not necessarily here to assess and judge either Will or Chris for the moment, but I would like us to kind of look at the situation in its totality and say, hey, within the realm of smart self-mastery, accountability, and resources and tools, did you see anything that really stood out that you think that generally all of us men are dealing with? Is there anything that stood out for you guys?
I think I want to say, just looking at it, one of the things that occurred to me is, I thought to myself, I say, here's two chocolate men, and they're in this really, huge environment. And, the question, come to my mind is, say, why did, one of the brothers feel like that had to be done right then and there? And it kind of took me back to when Kanye kind of jumped up. Kanye jumping up, that was like a big thing, and it attracted a lot of attention. So, but I just thought to myself, I said, how awesome would it be if that opportunity was used a little differently? That was just a thought that occurred to me. It's a great opportunity, even if we're taking this opportunity right now to not necessarily, say, hey, whether these guys did what they're right or wrong, and all of that, but to say, hey, we are trying to press forward to a specific place to get certain things done, to be intentional, to be on purpose. And that's such a huge environment to be in, but then again, when you have issues that are probably unaddressed, right? Or you're still navigating through, the other side of that for me is that, are we a culture or society that is compassionate enough, and to understand that, we all have a bad day. Sometimes you set out and you get dressed up and you're thinking, hey, this might turn out to be good, and it doesn't. And so, are we compassionate, and how do we handle and deal with each other when things don't work out? So those are some of the things that occurred to me initially, when I saw it.
Yeah, those good points. Go ahead,
Lamont. For me, it's like that whole thing about being attacked, right? So it came across from the person who received it as an attack. He looked over at his wife. He saw this look, and I'm thinking, okay, you take that on this big stage, right? But just like in everyday life, like if you're out with your wife, your girlfriend, your significant other, and they are attacked verbally, what do you do? How do you maintain your manhood and actually protect the person you're there to protect in a way that that you can walk away from that with having this person still look at you the same?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Powerful.
that's I think that's the hard part. It's like, how do you balance that so that when you do walk away, that person still values you as the man that's going to protect them. So, you know, we look at it the big stage, but it's really deeper because it really takes us on a local level. What are you going to do in a situation like that? And how does your mate understand who you are in order for you to walk away from that situation and that connection not be questioned?
Yeah, yeah. And we're gonna keep that open. We're gonna keep that whole question open because I believe that our guest is ready. And I wanted to go ahead and bring up TJ Chapman. Of course, he's a radio and TV personality, talk show host of the TJ Chapman Show, an MC and a red carpet host. And so you're gonna say something, Lamont?
Oh yeah, Javon's here too.
Oh, okay, fantastic, fantastic. So we're going to bring up both of them right on the same time. So we want to bring up, of course, Mr. Level Up himself and Mr. TJ Chapman as well. And what I love about TJ's experience is that again, we're talking about television. We're talking about on the stage, and TJ has done some amazing things in his career in being able to meet some of the biggest people that we know in terms of personalities and be able to organize events and be able to interview some amazing people that we all know. So it's just an opportunity, great opportunity to have TJ with us. And of course, Mr. Level Up himself, the Dr. Love Jones, to join us in this conversation. So bring those guys up, man. Yes.
Oh man,
Fellas, what's going on?
What's up, brother?
man, what's going on, fellas? Man,
Oh man, this is beautiful. It's good to see you, TJ.
man, look here, man. It's one of the things that I'm always behind doing the interviewing, right? And it's rare that I'm the one that's sitting on the couch or being, interviewed. So
Yeah.
it's always great to be able to, take a break sometime and sit back and, hey, all right, y'all ask me some questions. Come on now. I'm always doing all the questions and everything. So, gentlemen, I'm definitely honored, glad to be here with you guys. You got an amazing topic, and oh man, I got a lot to say about that.
Oh, well, you know what? Well, we want to jump right into it because I'm sure you've heard, some of the things we've had to say. Clearly, we're talking about the Oscar slappers, we call it, and some of the things that transpired. And so before we get into that, TJ, why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about who you are, kind of give us a little bit more of your extensive background professionally and personally. How did you arrive at doing what you're doing today?
All right, well, that's a really great question because, that's one of the main things that people ask you is, how did you get started? Tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of like almost, first day of, school. You get there, it's kind of like, all right, we're gonna go around the room and tell people, about yourself, whatever. So, all right, so basically, I mean, I've always been this person who always just enjoyed being around others, helping others, and just having, just natural, conversations without it sounding like they're on the spot. And so, so I got my start back in November. Matter of fact, November 17th, 2017. And so ever since then, it's kind of like, you know what, you have a gift to highlight others and to be able to elevate, spotlight people and just help them up and build their brand because, being able to do something from the ground up and not have any support is very difficult, so I looked at my experience and realized, hey, why not use my platform to help others get there? And when people don't believe in you or people don't believe in that vision, it's going to be even more harder, so I sit back and I realize where I came from and I just, pass on, what I've been, blessed with. And so, now I'm here and it's like, that's how I try to put people on, regardless if they, acknowledge me on the back end or if they say, I appreciate you, TJ, for bringing me on, or, hey, TJ, I appreciate you, put me at the table, whatever the case may be. I don't look for affirmation. I don't look for, oh, let me shoot you a little something. I do it because it comes straight from my heart. So whether it's somebody that's trying to, what, I'm going to ride your coattail because I know I can get in by him, or, hey, what, I'm going to use him to get where I need to go at. I don't focus my attention on that because I know with my energy and what the universe has, sowed upon me is that, hey, if that's how they feel they can get in, then congratulations. But once you get to the table, you on your own. You know, when people don't call back, you know, people don't call you back. It's like, hey, there ain't no knock on TJ. You know, hey, you got to the table, you didn't know what the hell you were doing. So I can't help you on that. So so that's why I'm in this position where I'm in now, is to be able to, you know, do it from the heart and not looking for anything, you know, in return, because what you put out to the universe is going to give back to you.
Understand. Beautifully said. I love what you said.
I would like to attest to that, because I'm one of those people that TJ has putting on plenty of his platforms and stuff like that. I can personally attest to his word. He is genuinely like this. He puts a lot of people on, a lot of people I know and what we know. So I want to personally salute to you on this public platform for doing what you're doing, being who you are.
Yeah,
man, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Awesome. So TJ, you talked about two things, man. Number one, spotlight. We talked about many things, but two words that really stood out for me. You know, spotlight and elevate. Right, putting a spotlight on people and elevating people, and that's to be commendable, my man. Because so many times people don't have that mentality. And you know, in your career, you know, talk to us about, you know, some of the opportunity you've had to put a spotlight to elevate some of the individuals who are, you know, we consider to be the big personalities in society. So talk about some of the opportunities you've been able to do in your career so far.
Well, thus far, I mean, you know, just being able to do it because it's just naturally born in me. I've had the opportunity to be spotlighted on some of the, the world's biggest stages, you know, such as the Tom Joyner Femme Reunion. You know, I got my first, big gig on then in 2018. And they were so impressed. They was like, well, shoot, hey, we need him back for the finale and have him be the main guy behind the scenes. And next thing you know, boom, you know, TJ Chapman show has arrived. And then, right before COVID hit, they wanted us to, we actually won the bid to do the Fantastic Voyage that he has every year that has, pretty much everybody. So we won the bid. And then COVID hit, and then everything is up. But I said, you know what? That did not discourage me, because I knew that whatever is in the plan is still going to be there. And ever since then, it's like things just started elevating. And one of the main things I always tell people is that, you know, with great success, you're going to be separated from those who either believe in you or don't believe in you. You know how they always say, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, in this case here, the higher you elevate, you get to see who's with you and who's not with you. And so that's why I don't concern myself with, oh, well, this person just using me for this, or this person using me for that. Hey, I get you on. What you do when you get there, you're on your own.
Totally get that. Yeah. So clearly, I mean, the Fantastic Voyage, Tom Joyner, you've seen some people at, you know, high levels of their success, right? And you've been able to have conversations, spotlight, elevate them. And, you know, we're talking about how to master emotions for success tonight. So when you see these individuals, right? Because sometimes we have a tendency to look at celebrities and people in those positions like they're superhuman, right? Right. I mean, in your experience, you know, how have you seen them navigate a lot of the, you know, the spotlight, you know, the challenges that comes with that particular environment, dealing with the emotion of all of it? How have you seen some of these people that you've been able to at least, you know, rub shoulders with, really handle some of that on the stage?
Man, so when it comes to that, I only can contest to myself, because I feel that I can handle scrutiny, because that's usually what comes with success, is that people are going to find a way to try to bring you down. And if you're not strong enough, you're not built for it, then you're going to act out because someone feels, you know, oh, well, he can't handle the spotlight. Now, me personally, people talk about me all the time, but like I always say, I don't give a, you know, I don't know if this is, you know, I can cuss on here or whatever, but I try to respect, you know, platforms, and I know we didn't have time to, you know, say if I can cuss or not, but I mean, we got the producer in the back. He can, you know, do the bleeping out and, you know, the little asterisks and all this other stuff. But no, I mean, I really don't care, man, what people say about me, because I just know that when people talk about me, that just means that I'm doing a good job. When people stop talking about me, it's like, oh, wait a minute now, what am I doing wrong? Because now people are like, see, I told you. No. So when it comes to that, I can handle my own. But when it comes to my loved ones, who, you know, yeah, they can defend themselves to a certain degree, but you would not talk about my loved ones in front of me, especially if I've already told you numerous of times, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and you still blatantly ignore it. Now I got two problems. One, you still talking about my loved ones, and two, you just disrespect me because you're like, you didn't care what the hell I had to say. So that then it becomes okay. All right, you know what? I can tell you all day, every day, what you know what I'll do. Probably won't do nothing, but at the heat of the moment, spur of the moment, we don't know what's going to happen. But just be prepared, because on the aftermath, now we have time to calm down. Because at the moment, like I was telling Javon, you know, behind the scenes, it was like you don't know what you're going to do until it happens. You can Monday morning quarterback all day long, which is most of the time people do after they think about it. Because at the moment, oh, I did this right because I already knew. Look, listen, I'm walking into a situation. If this person say one more thing, it's gonna be smoke in the city. So you're already prepared. Like, you know what? I gave them ample opportunities to not do this. So now they're an habitual line stepper, you know, or habitual envelope pusher, you know. So now it's kind of like, oh, you really want to test my patience today? You know what? I got time today. So it's kind of like you're already there. Like, okay, you know what? I tried to do it the nice way. I tried to do it the right way. But what really is the right way, other than like you're already going in it and an emotional state of like, you know what? I had enough. Boy, hey, you better hope you don't say nothing wrong today. And then
it sounds to me like you have a perspective about what happened with the Oscar slap, and I think this is a good time to transition to it, because I kind of feel like you're pulling a certain point. So I'm gonna give you the stage to share just kind of your thoughts about that whole navigation of the moments and the emotions at that point in time.
All right, so my take on that was this: like, once you want a person not to do something, and you're consistently having to tell that person, hey, cut it out. Hey, that was funny. Cut it out. Don't do it. This is not the time. This is not the place. Don't do it. And then it's like, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. You know, shits and giggles. Because we've always been that person, like, you know what? Yeah, they talking about he laughed about it. You know, he was laughing when he did the joke. But funny how quickly we forget. Us, when we finna get ready to do something, we always gonna be like, what? And then we go ahead and react. It ain't that we laughing at the joke. It's kind of like, boy, I said, boy, look here, buddy, you just don't know. And now you know, snap off. So then we're just confirmation, like, oh, should I do this? Like, you know, should I do this? And then you get that look. All right, you know what? Boom. So that was my take on it. Was it out of character? I don't think so, because we all have characters, right? We have a stronger character that this is something that we don't see ourselves doing, but we all are capable of doing something. It just takes certain things to get us there. I mean, I'm sure none of us have murdered anybody other than cockroaches and lizards and everything else. But guess what? We're all killers in some type of way. But we think about consequences. We think about certain things, but we all have this something within us that we're capable of, but we never gotten to that point, or we never met anybody that's gotten us to that point. So when people say he acted out of character, well, it wasn't out of character. You're just used to the character that you've seen, but we don't know what really goes behind the scenes. We really don't know what this person is. Just like with us, our character is what we show people. So we don't know what we're capable of doing other than what we've displayed. So when people say, oh, he acted out of character, or when we say, man, that was such out of character for me. No, that's just a cliche, because you already knew you had it in you. It just took that person or that amount of that amount of buildup to a point where, you know, now it's pressurized, and then the slightest touch now it's going to take you aboard. And so it wasn't out of character. It was just like, dang, that's something that I normally wouldn't do. Key words, normally wouldn't do, but it simply means you have the capability that you've done it before, but that's not something I normally do. I'm normally don't cuss out pastors, but if the pastor come at me wrong, I may cuss him out, but I normally don't do that.
So TJ, just to be clear, you're saying that Chris was warned a few times not to press the joke.
Yeah. Or don't keep, or don't talk about my wife in that manner, because you already talked about it twice when you had the stage. And now I'm telling you again, don't talk about it, because you probably been said, hey, Chris might say something, you know, about Jada in regards to something. And it's probably been said, hey, don't do that joke, brother. And now it's kind of like, and he probably could have been like, oh, okay, cool, I won't do it. Then you get on stage and you do it. It's kind of like, what is still talking jokes? That's my cue. I bet. Boom. So, yeah.
So,
Nah,
okay. Go ahead, Jamon.
I could personally attest to is this. In my younger years, where I didn't even have any facial hair, right? I had situations where I smiled before I lost my cool. So I can personally attest to when you sometimes laughing is because it's that calm before the storm. So I could truly understand that feeling, you know. But the one thing, and me and TJ always, we had this conversation, is that the moment that you are prepared for something, you have the thing that if you warn somebody something and they do it anyway, you have that moment to think about it and said, you know what? Because you almost expected it, because you already said something about it, so you're not surprised. So oftentimes you got to know what to do in that moment, because the moment that you are acting out, that you can no longer say that, oh, I got caught up in the moment, my emotions, because you thought it out actually.
Yeah. I totally agree with what he said, because I mean it's one of the things, like, you know, I know I'm going to come up in here and I know it's going to be some smoke in the city, so let me prepare myself, you know, and just in case, because I mean we can all say, you know what, yeah, he's not going to say nothing, and then all of a sudden it's kind of like, oh my gosh, he said nope. I know this person. I know he's probably going to do something foul, so let me go ahead and prepare myself, because I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm going to do it. It could have been after commercial break, he go behind stage, beat him down, you know, but it's just like, you don't know when a hit dog gonna holler.
So TJ, you know, one of the things you brought up is this whole thing of the character that we all play, and it's such an important point. As we're building a community of men, we know that a lot of times, you know, society has taught us to not show up a certain way, so we have to, you know, always be looking tough. We always have to be looking hard. We always have to be presenting ourselves a certain way. You know, that facade, if you will. You know, let's talk about that character a little bit more, because I think that really ties into our discussion. So oftentimes when we're dealing with emotional things in our life, right, we don't reach out to have conversations with a brother or connect with someone. We try to stay in the character of tough. What do you think that does to us when we're constantly always having to wear that character all the time?
It builds up pressure. It truly builds up pressure, because it's one of them things where, you know, you just dust stuff off, and as you dusting stuff off, not realizing it still is being ingrained into you. Now, it may take a long time for it to build up, but then when something major happens, and it's like kind of like now it's flushing up here. So that same stuff that you used to just like here, and you're already here, all it takes is this, and this to like take you over the top. Because it can be something as simple as you've had a long day at work. You know, your boss been riding you all day long, all week, all month, all everything. And it's kind of like, okay, whatever. And then you finally get home. And when you walk in the house, you step on one of your kids' toys. And then at that point, everything busts. Everything just goes to SHIT. So it's just one of the things that it just takes that one small ounce of something to take you over the top, because everything else that's built around it has already taken you there. And now all it takes is just one small ounce, because people look at it on the outside. Oh, that wasn't nothing. People talk about jokes all the time. People get cracked on all the time. People get roasted all the time. It was just a joke. But what people don't realize is that how long has this person, aka Will, has been building up to that point? You know, How much pressure has he been already under? How much stuff has he had to endure by turning his face and saying, hey, you got to be able to deal with it. You in Hollywood, people are going to talk about you. People are going to say this. You got to suck it up. You got to let people disrespect you, because that's what people do. They're going to disrespect you. So you can't do anything. Don't do anything about it. We all say we all human, right? But guess what? We human.
Yeah.
Only so much we can take.
And I agree with you. I mean, we're all human. And, you know, as you said earlier, once you reach a certain level of success, you got to anticipate and know that you're going to have haters, right? Levels of success, like I said, every level comes with a different devil, right? So there's an understanding that has to come with where you are in life. And so the question now becomes, you know, as you talk about this, and this really ties into our conversation today about mastering emotions, you know, we talk about that pressure. For a lot of us men, we've dealt with pressure. And if pressure builds up, pressure builds up, pressure builds up. And we never get to a point where we are dealing with the pressure, so then we blow up, right? Because when you look at the situation with the Oscar slap, you could say, you know, we can all say that, you know, there could have been different actions taken. So what could have been done beforehand? What could have been done before? And this question for you, TJ, is even related to the men in the group, right? We're dealing with different things in life. Oscar slap is on a major stage, but in a small stage of our own life, what are some of the things that we can be doing, or you're suggesting men can do, to be able to deal with some of those emotions and the pressures that we're going through?
Oh man. I mean, some of those things just, I really feel that it's an individual basis per se. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just like, man, that's whatever. And I'm just like, I don't even know. It's just crazy. But for me personally, it's kind of like, I can tell you now what I would and wouldn't do, but I can't tell you what would happen in the spur of the moment.
I understand.
And it's not until after the fact that it happens, kind of like, oh, man, maybe I should have did this way. But again, we all do something, and then we realize, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have did that. Maybe I should have did that. But in our mind, we feel like what we're doing at the moment is the right moment.
So you give an example about, like, you know, you had a tough day at work, and then you come home and you step on the child's toy, and then you blow up. So the question is there opportunity to be self-aware, right? Where you say, right now I'm feeling stressed, right now I'm feeling angry, right now I'm feeling agitated. So maybe I should go to the gym and hit the bag, right? Or, you know, maybe I should be in a conversation or whatever. Do you think some of these things, if done prior, could assist with, you know, even though you stepped on a child's toy, then it won't be escalated as much because at least you're self-aware enough to kind of deal with the emotion or transfer the emotion? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, see, here's the thing, like Dr. Javon says, here's the thing, okay? What we do, we feel like, okay, let me listen to some music. I feel good. I'm calm. You know, I went to McDonald's, got me something to eat, or I took a shot of cognac, or I did something to make you think, like, you know what, I feel good. But then you walk in the house, and then boom, it's kind of like what you thought was taken care of wasn't taken care of. So it's almost what is called a Band-Aid effect. And that Band-Aid effect is like, you know, what no, let me just put this Band-Aid on. I'll be straight. But when in fact you needed surgery to take care of whatever was happening. And maybe that surgery was to act out the way you act out. And now it's kind of like, well, at least I got that out of the way. Now, will I ever do something like that again? Probably so, but not in that magnitude. You know, I would still slap the mother, whatever, but I just won't do it on camera. So the results will probably be the same, but more so of when you do it.
I got you. So Bobby B, go ahead, Javon.
Sorry, I Bobby. Okay, only one question I ask you is this, right? You said it. You mentioned the comparison with surgery, right? You said sometimes surgery you have to act that act, which I'm agree with you. But what are other ways that you can do? Because do you think that's the only method to follow if you're at that point, or do you think there might be other things you can do?
I mean, it's kind of hard because when it comes to having surgery, you're gonna have to go through, something serious to get that surgery done. So you might have to, whatever you feel that needs to be done to find like, whew, finally. Just, I mean, not to use this as a, bad example, but it's almost when it comes to battered women syndrome. Okay. A lot of the times it's like we all say, well, just walk away, leave. You could have did this, you could have did that, whatever. Okay, granted. But at the moment, it's kind of like, boom, I did it. You think about it. Maybe I should have did, maybe I should have that. But at the end of the day, I don't have to worry about this no more, because next time it gets out, don't put your hands on me, because this is what could happen. So in this case here, if something to a point where you need to have that surgery, you might have to resort to something that's going to heal you. And sometimes it could just be that, or it could just be just go to the Himalayas and don't come back for the next 20 years and come back big beard or long hair, whatever. That could very well be it. But most of the time, it's going to be a snap moment. You snap, you felt great, but then afterwards, kind of like, maybe I shouldn't have did it that way. Maybe I should have slapped them over here. Maybe I should have stabbed this person in their sleep. I don't know. I'm just playing. But something of that nature, I could have did it differently, but the results would still been the same. So it doesn't be on a bigger platform. Uh-oh, don't get quiet now.
I think his screen frozen. I think his screen frozen.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa.
That is a classic pose that he's doing right now.
Yeah, while I think Darian is probably out, his screen is out, but just to circle back to the whole idea, right? And I'll share it this way. I always say, we always say, hey, watching LeBron play basketball, that's his name on the back of his jersey, and we need to be concerned with our stuff, not just watching other people and what they do. One of the things I can say about LeBron, I'll circle back to this, because in another episode I was like, yo, you out there watching LeBron and you got your own stuff going on in your own life. You need to work on that, right? So I'm bringing up LeBron James specifically because this guy is out there and he says that, there's an image of what the NBA player it looks like. And he said, hey, I'm not just an NBA player. I'm going to do things a little bit differently. So he began to, blaze a trail. But the one thing that always comes to mind to me is that how you practice is how you play, right? That is huge for me because, I realize, people talk about a growth mindset and a lack mindset, right? And I realized I had both mindsets because growing up in Harlem in the Bronx, like I only saw people who looked like me, talk like me. We had a certain culture. We talked a certain. If you were from the Bronx, you talked a certain way. You from Harlem, you talked a certain way, and you couldn't cross some of that stuff up. Then I went up to school up in Westchester and Yonkers, and I had a whole different experience. I got to meet people from all over the world, and they just did things totally different. And a lot of them had this abundance mindset. So I always, I joke sometimes to say, I practice very poorly, and I practice, diversity, and with that being said, I guess the point I'm making is that we practice is how we play. I can remember thinking back to wanting to become a real estate investor and getting into the business. And, I read books and I got into the business just because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Started making 5 figures and doing really, really well, right? And able to buy a car from the showroom floor and just do a lot of things I couldn't do before. But, there was always this piece of me that I wasn't used to that type of mindset, right? And when the crash came in 07, 08, I felt like going from feeling like you're on top of the world to the rug being pulled from up under me, I didn't exactly know how to deal with my emotions. I found myself, writing out a note and contemplating, taking my own life because I didn't have a support system. I didn't have real accountability in place. I didn't know I needed to be working on myself. I didn't know that I had this mindset that was sometime abundant and sometime lack. And so I wasn't exactly practicing a solid game where I can win long term. And so that's how I found myself ended up being on that beach that morning, early in the morning, is because I was practicing only when I was making money. I was practicing only when the spotlight was cooking, and I was not practicing in the background, really doing like what LeBron James does, really building himself to a point where he's so elite that he then turns around, and no matter what team you put him on or what the players that play with him, he does his handshakes and all this stuff, but he remembers each one because each one has a specific personality and style. I think it takes a lot more skill, right? To really be in a place where you can find your excellence, and then you can then turn around and help bring out the best in others to the place where we don't even enter into the type of conversation that we probably used to have back in Harlem and the Bronx sometime, like, what you doing on my block?
Mhm.
Or why you talking to my girl? Those are the type of conversations we used to have. And when I got to Westchester, I used to be like, what? I was like, nobody even owned nothing on the block. It didn't even belong to us. Why was we fighting over that? But it was two different cultures and two different mindsets. And later on, I had to learn. It's like nobody came to tell me, yo, bro, like, when you get in your Harlem vibe, you want to hustle stuff like that. But sometimes you quit when it don't work out, and then you go chase another shiny object, because that was the thing. And then my Westchester, my Yonkers self with the world view, these people had beliefs and standards that they lived by, and they didn't change them for nothing, not even for you. And so that persistent mindset. I guess what I'm saying in all of this is that I think opportunities are constantly going to present themselves. Some are going to be good, some are going to be bad. We're going to meet some people that are up, we're going to meet some people that are down. And I think the most important thing out of all of this is to remember is that, be who you authentically are. And that is, for me, the self-mastery, right? That I want to deal with people, especially people who look like me, talk like me, because I know we start out a lot of times behind the eight ball. And a lot of times I don't even allow strife to enter in. I try my best, like I guess the brother said earlier. TJ say, TJ, you said earlier, I don't even think like that. If you're trying to use me, that's not even in my consciousness. So I'm not even in the consciousness to be fighting and slapping. And you understand what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, if that's who the person is, and that's the character they want to show up as, then that's the character who they are. And there's so much more money and opportunity for people who want to see the world differently. And I think it starts coming down to a thing of, be the change that you want to see. If that's who Will wants to be, hey man, I ain't gonna judge him. He got a reason and a whole life that he took to get there to be that person. And if that's how he feels the best, then go ahead. But if that's not my style, my Shaolin technique, I'm gonna keep it moving. So I wanted to share that piece because I'm stressing the point. How we practice is how we play. I do think Will has a good track record of practicing and playing within key. And if he takes a slight detour or is going through something, then maybe all the best to him. And also for Chris Rock, the same thing. Maybe if it was shared with him, hey man, I prefer you not do that, right? No matter how funny the joke may be, there's some places that will cut a little bit deeper. And I think if you know that you do it intentionally, then that's a whole different set of
absolutely.
That's real.
So what I get from what you're saying there, Bobby, is how we practice is how we play. So what we're saying to the fellas is, listen, one of the tenets to master your emotions is you got to work on the small little things that happen, the small little hiccups that happen, emotional upsets that happen in your life before it becomes so big in your life that you blow up on the big stage. So Lamont, I want to give you an opportunity to also share, what Bobby says, how you practice, how you play. What do you think is the one thing that you can share with the fellas as well that they can use to navigate the emotions as well? What would you say?
You're on mute, brother.
You're on mute.
You got mute.
Yeah, we call him IJ, man. We really got to it's really about our ego, right? It's really about assessing the ego. Like really looking yourself in the mirror. So when you do have a blow up on a smaller scale, when you do lash out let's say at the kids, or you do lash out, being able to go sit in the mirror and ask yourself, how could I have done that differently? How could I change? How can I change that so that my emotions don't then trigger other things to go awry, right? So I think it's a really, and that goes, and it's one of the things that I personally do is I'm the type of guy, I'm the nicest guy, one of the nicest guy you would ever want to meet. And I'm really level across the board. But and the interesting is none of you guys have ever seen that emotional ball of fire that's me. And that's because I have trained myself not to go there. Because when I go there, it's explosive and it's like, who is this person? And how I master not going there is when I do have situations and events that happen, I always check my ego. How can I change this? How can I process through this in a way that it doesn't become like this emotional blow up? Does that make sense? You follow that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's always a situation of looking at yourself from a very honest perspective and wanting to change that. Some people don't want to change. Some people like being that ball of fire. But if you're somebody who wants to have more control of your emotions and to be able to process through things, I think it takes an honest look at your ego and checking it and seeing how you can change and navigate. Does it make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And we want to come back to you, Lamont, but we want to give TJ an opportunity because he has to run to just kind of share his social media and contact details with us so we can connect with him. Go ahead, TJ.
Oh yeah, no, man. Listen, man, I appreciate you guys, having me on here. It's definitely uplifting and being able to, be on the other side of the chair, and just like that, I'm gonna get ready to be back on the other side of the chair that I'm used to here at the top of the hour. So, but I want to appreciate you guys for having me on, and for those who out there, listening, be sure to follow me on all social media platforms. The TJ Chapman Show on IG, Facebook, Twitter. Anybody else out there, make sure you guys, follow, where I'm housed at, the Culture Radio, Culture TV. That's where you find, all my shows at. Anybody else out there that's looking to do anything, go ahead and holler at your boy, and I get you hooked up. So in the meantime, fellas, I appreciate you guys for having me, and make sure y'all tune at the top of the hour. And hey, listen, man, we got a great lineup for tonight. So make sure y'all tune in if you can. And the rest of the world, hey, holla at y'all. Just make sure y'all don't slap nobody unnecessarily. So I'm gonna
Beautiful. And listen, before you go, TJ, we just want to thank you so much for jumping in. I know it's a little bit last minute to jump in this conversation. We're gonna have you back because we want to, get to explore, more of what you do specifically and the value that you bring to the community. So we appreciate you, of course, joining us for this short conversation. But like I said, my brother, we'll be bringing you back. So again, we know you got to run. We honor you. We'll definitely let people know how they can reach out to you in the community. So heart level to you, my brother. Heart level.
I look forward to y'all. Hey, make sure, recognize that it's Aries season. So if you don't recognize, just be prepared for that slap.
That's April Aries, not March Aries.
That's April Aries. Exactly. We built different. We in the middle. We're in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
We get a little bit of Pisces. We get a little bit of Taurus, but in the middle of it all, we full Aries blown.
Love it. All right, so we're gonna have Javon, kind of share a little bit as well. Of course, number one, we had Bobby B talk about how we practice is how we play. Really starting to make sure we practice, right, ahead of time before we get to those moments of blow up. But Lamont shared, really taking a look at an honest self, look at yourself honestly and make an assessment of yourself. I think that's such a key thing to self mastery and such a critical point that he made. And so we'll have Javon kind of share, your thoughts on this concept of, mastering your emotions for success. What you got, Javon?
I think what we do is with the IJ man, what we do is we frame it in a joking manner, right? We all do it. And the reason why is because we're being honest of what the thoughts that's coming through us, but we're taking the edge off of it so we're not offending anybody. And
Right.
that lesson right there is what we have to take into life, right? Is that I can honestly say this. I've snapped for less than what Will's has snapped for. I've been that guy that would less words, we're throwing hands. I've been that guy. And that guy has gotten me. I felt worse after that because I felt like someone controlled me. Because had I had the control, I would have never responded like that. I would have never just lost my cool like that. Me, it's very rare times that I get to those places, but when I do, I naturally been that person that would just swing first, ask questions later once I got to that mode. And that awful feeling is realizing that, oh my God, somebody made me get to that point, opposed to me choosing that. And being that I didn't like that, what I've learned to do is be very honest and candid. I'm checking either myself or the person who's offended me. I have to check them in a respectful manner way, or if in an environment where it's susceptible, not me just lose my cool, because at the end of the day, I have my reputation, my name, and what I'm building for always at stake. Always. And I don't need to be jeopardizing that because of an ego trip. So I can always look at what I'm doing, and what I've learned to do is reframe what I'm dealing with. Understand that just like how we reframe how we are inner jerks to making it a joke, I reframe it into making it less about me being the victim and understanding that there's a bigger game we're playing. And sometimes these little things comes up to test our fortitude and test what we is, because we're being tested all the time. That do you really want this? Are you willing to sacrifice and do what you need to do to get this? So I've learned to just say, you know what? I'm going to pass my test and use those opportunities for betterment, opposed to letting my ego or my shadow or my inner jerk self take control and make decisions that I do not agree to.
So I like what you're saying there, Javon. So what you're saying is, hey, sometimes you got to make light of some of these moments. Maybe we're too serious. We're too serious about, and you mentioned IJ Man. And can you explain to the fellas what IJ Man is? Because I'm not sure if they know IJ Man.
So IJ Man is, y'all gonna see the videos coming out. We got them coming soon. But IJ Man is the skit, the personification of our shadow or our dark selves. So it's really inner jerk man, but we say IJ Man. That's what IJ Man is. It's a personification of our inner dark side.
Love it, love it, love it. And we got some comments from the fellas. Hey, I want to say hi to Adrian, of course, Wayne, a couple of the fellas that's here with us. I wanted to read one of Adrian's comments. He says that men need true accountability partners to serve as pressure relief. Wow. And sounding boards, not superficial yes men in our circles. Woo, that is some deep stuff right there. I'm gonna say heart level to that, man.
Yeah.
Heart level to that. And go ahead, Damon.
Yeah. I mean, that I love that point, because I think, you know, what I've gained from being in this community is, I remember when we had our first retreat, and I wanted us to start a certain time, and I'm all up like, yo, what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
And one of the conversations I had with you was, you said, listen, it's about setting the it's a P word. Expectation. Yeah. Setting the expectation. Sometimes we create the situation because we haven't even set the expectation.
Ooh.
Right.
Ooh.
So having had that conversation with you, it had me take a look at, wait a minute, am I setting the expectations not just within Confidence Factor, within my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So having that community really helped me to kind of look at the framing of my own, not just situation, but my life,
Yes.
and making those adjustments. So what Adrian said is really, really important, because that community is important. If you don't
Right.
have it, you can go into situations where you are reacting instead
That's right.
of responding. As I think that comment came from Wayne Moody. Yeah.
We mentioned that, and I'll make this point before we have Bobby talk about the inspiration injection, and to kind of wrap it up on my end. To me, it's about ownership, right? Oftentimes, what we're not doing is we're not taking ownership of the moments when we are dealing with our emotional issues, and I call them issues, traumas. We're not seeking the necessary help as men, and in this community, we say, therapy is part of the success equation. So if there are traumas that you're dealing with, if there are issues that you haven't addressed, we're going to recommend that, as men, this is where Adrian talks about, we need men to support us and say, hey, we're not yes men. We're saying that you need to go and seek help. You need to address these things, because what can end up happening is you can have a moment like what Will Smith had, where you're at the biggest stage of your life, where you're going to be awarded for the years and years that you've put in all this work, and then to react, right? I'm going to call it a reaction, and do something that becomes a defining moment for your life, and it affects the rest of your career potential, right? So we're saying to you guys, number one is you practice, right? As Bobby said, you practice. The model was saying that you want to really look in the mirror and assess yourself, okay? As Javon says, is make light of the moments. Don't take things so seriously. Some things you need to take the edge off. And of course, last but not least, is taking ownership. Really seek out ways in which you can address these things through your life, so you don't end up in a situation where you're reacting at the biggest moment of your life. Listen, we as men, we all go through things. We're going to deal with our emotions, and the way we navigate those emotions will either determine how we move towards to a success, or we stay paralyzed. And I think we want to have a number two discussion on this, a second part of the discussion, because what I wanted us to do is to get into sharing our stories a little bit deeper and really cover three key things. Number one is, what do you focus on when you have these emotional breaks or changes in your life? What does it mean? And last but not least, what actions do you take? And I know tonight we didn't get into that, but I certainly want us to do that, because this is such an important discussion. I'm going to say, fellas, that we should have a part two of this discussion, really to dive a little bit deeper into that and talk more about that, because it's a really powerful one. But we run out of time. And so what we're going to do is, have you, Bobby, share the inspiration injection, and we'll plan for another conversation with this, because I think it's important.
Hey guys, appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Like Darian said, we want to have a part two discussion. So this is CF Talks, where we have heart level conversations that lead to transformation. Tonight's inspiration injection is "It's Never Too Late to Be Who You Really Are" by Sandy Gallagher. Guys, remember, we say in everything that you do, make sure that you keep it.
Always keep
heart
it
level.
Heart level.
Heart level.
Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys.